5-Minute Habits for Healthy Living. This week is habit number 2, eat the good calories. Hello, this is Dr. Brian Morris, and welcome to 5-Minute Habits for Healthy Living, where you will learn the tools to practice a healthy lifestyle 5 minutes at a time. Life has become very complicated with a seemingly endless amount of health information at our fingertips. How do you know what to believe and what not to believe? In this podcast, I sort through the maze of information and distill it into easy-to-digest, time-tested, evidence-based practical strategies for optimal health. I've been practicing internal medicine for 20 years. I went to medical school at Johns Hopkins, I trained at Yale, and I previously held a teaching position at Harvard Medical School. I currently practice medicine and hold a teaching appointment at UCLA Medical School here in Los Angeles, where I teach these tools and these strategies to medical students, house staff, doctors, and of course, to my patients. Before we get to this week's habit, I'd like to remind you that the information contained in this podcast and at 5minutemd.com is intended solely for educational purposes and should not be used to diagnose, treat, or prevent any health condition or illness. This information may not apply to a specific health situation and is not a substitute for medical care by a qualified, licensed, board-certified healthcare professional. Please consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your healthcare regimen. This week's habit is habit number 2, eat the good calories. Last week, we discussed the importance of eating the correct number of calories each day. Eating the correct number of calories each day is critically important to optimal health, as well as achieving and maintaining an ideal weight. However, all calories are not created equal. Gary Taub's book, Good Calories, Bad Calories, discusses this concept in depth, but we all know that 200 calories of cookies is not the same as 200 calories of vegetables. Some calories are full of nutrients and promote good health, while other calories are processed, loaded with sugar, and full of emptiness. A cookie may have the same number of calories as a cup of broccoli, but clearly the broccoli is much more nutritious. So, in addition to consuming the correct number of calories each day, we also want to focus our food choices on calories that are nutrient-dense, meaning calories that are loaded with healthy nutrients which nourish our cells and our health. And we want to avoid calories that are empty calories, meaning calories that have very little nutritional value. Which are the nutrient-dense calories and which are the empty calories? Well, first of all, any food that causes an allergy or a sensitivity reaction is by definition not a food that should be consumed by that individual person. If the person does not have any food allergies or food sensitivities, then nutrient-dense foods include an assortment of wonderful options such as spinach, broccoli, kale, tomatoes, avocados, apples, peaches, oatmeal, Greek yogurt, ocean-raised salmon, egg whites, legumes, almonds, walnuts, garlic, berries, olive oil. The list goes on and on. The list is actually quite extensive. This is just a small sample of good calories. But you may have noticed several principles that underlie each of the foods that I mentioned. First, good calories are real food. They are not processed. They exist pretty much as they were grown. They didn't go through the sort of processing that so much of our foods go through. A good rule to remember is that whenever a food is processed, it loses nutritional value. Second, good calories tend to be the calories that are colorful. UCLA's David Heber wrote a very interesting book a few years ago called Color Your Diet. And in that book, Dr. Heber discusses the health benefits that colorful foods offer. In general, colorful foods tend to be foods that are richer in nutrients, while the whiter foods tend to be the more processed, less nutritious options. And third, good calories tend to be filling. When we eat good calories, we're likely to feel satisfied and be much more in control of our portion sizes. The classic book on this topic is called Volumetrics, and it was written by Barbara Rolls, Rolls. One of the main reasons so many people gain weight is not necessarily that they're eating the wrong foods. Often it has a lot more to do with portion sizes. Simply eating too much food, and by consuming the good calories, it becomes easier to keep our portions under control. I will discuss this concept in more detail in a future habit, but the key principle here is to focus our food choices on the good calories, the colorful, filling, nutrient-dense options like the ones that I mentioned. Which are the foods that we should avoid? We should avoid the processed, empty-calorie foods that unfortunately are so prevalent in our world. Foods to avoid are white rice, white pasta, white bread, preservative-rich prepackaged foods like cookies, pastries, and candy bars, and high-fat animal produce, especially processed meats. When you stick with nutrient-dense foods, you're more likely to succeed because these foods tend to be naturally low in calories so that you can eat more volume of food and feel much more satisfied all of the time. When we consume breads and pastas and processed foods, there is very little nutritional value there, and it becomes incredibly challenging to keep our calories in line. Good, healthy nutrition nourishes our cells and also keeps us satisfied and in control of our cravings. Foods that are devoid of nutritional value do little to reduce our cravings and can actually increase our cravings to overconsume calories. Here's your homework for this week. Try your best to focus your calorie choices on the nutrient-dense, colorful foods that are packed with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. This means focusing your food selections on fruits and vegetables, legumes, fish, chicken, and avoiding breads, pastas, rice, pastries, and other empty calories that are so prevalent in our society. Fill up your plate with fruits and vegetables and healthy protein options as much as possible. The goal is to pack as much nutrition into each calorie as possible. If possible, have a salad every day, either with lunch or dinner, and make fruits and vegetables your snack foods. Have a bowl of oatmeal with some berries, especially blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries. That's a great option in the morning or even as a snack. Always think to reach for a fruit or a vegetable rather than something processed like sweets or crackers or chips. Remember that there are two general principles for optimal nutrition. Eat the correct number of calories each day and also make these calories as nutritious as possible. These two principles are the building blocks for a healthy nutritional plan. Let's keep the dialogue going. Let me know what you think of this week's habit for healthy living. Post your comments and your experiences on the 5 Minute MD Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at Brian Morris MD, and visit us anytime on our website, 5minutemd.com. Let your friends and your family and your colleagues know about this podcast, and make sure that you are subscribed on iTunes. When you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, you will receive new podcast episodes as soon as they are posted. Also, in the next few months, we will be posting bonus podcast episodes at 5minutemd.com, including special podcast episodes not available on iTunes. And if you're finding the information on this podcast helpful, we would really appreciate it if you would take a moment and stop by iTunes and leave us a review. Thank you so much for listening, and remember to make today count. I will see you at the next 5.